What's up, guys? SaltEMike here, coming at you with another week in review for Star Citizen. And this week was really quiet. There's a lot of work still going into the PTU 3.6.1 patches, and I think as a result of that, we're not seeing much movement really anywhere, and not a lot of news kind of coming out of Star Citizen right now. So we're going to kind of just jump straight into the video and talk about the patch notes that we got this week. So starting out with 3.6.1c, it was a very minor patch, just a couple bug fixes. Nothing major of note to mention here, but as always, the link will be in the description, so you guys can go check that out. 3.6.1d is when we start getting into some more interesting stuff. And this one is an interesting bug fix where lawful missions should no longer appear on GrimHacks if the player has a crime stat. So if you went to GrimHacks and you had a crime stat, usually you would have a lot of missions missing from the mission board because whoever offers them doesn't really want to work with criminals. So what you would do is you would go to GrimHacks, your crime stat would disappear, and then all the missions would be available again. It was kind of a nice exploit that they just closed that loop of. So they spent time fixing a bug that none of us wanted fixed because it was a really nice exploit that we enjoyed. But, you know, hey, it's good to have those loops closed, but it's one of those where it's like, I wouldn't have minded if that one stayed in. And then 3.6.1e is the one where we got a lot of fixes in. And I'm just going to discuss a few of them, as this really almost seemed like a live candidate. There's still quite a few issues, but they're really starting to fix a lot of the major ones. One of the major ones for me was fixed drug stash houses not recognizing ships. So the net area where around a drug stash, you'll now be able to recognize ships a lot easier. You always have to put it really, really close, and now it should be a lot wider than before. They also said they fixed rocks falling into the planet when mining, or they should not fall into the planet when mining. They don't quite fall into the planet when mining anymore, but they didn't fix the issue. They still just kind of bang into each other and explode. It's really frustrating for me. So those are just a couple of the major ones. As always, links are in the description. See if any of the bugs that you were being annoyed by were fixed as well. And again, I think not a lot of movements going on because a lot of work is going into trying to get 3.6.1 live. So moving into the roadmap updates, we're not seeing much movement on the Persistent Universe update roadmap at all. So I'm not really going to make any discussion in this video about it because honestly, there's really not much to talk about. So as always, like I said before, links are in the description for these as well, so you can take a look at them, but we won't be discussing them much on the video. Now moving into the video content where we have Inside Star Citizen, and they go ahead and start discussing something that's really interesting. New Babbage, the landing zone on Microtech. And this is something that we haven't seen really before yet. We saw some biomes from Microtech and some concept art, but never the actual landing zone. So this is really nice. And we're going to go ahead and watch some clips from this and let you guys kind of see for yourselves and hear for yourselves what they have to say.
So here we have the Microtech Plaza, which is one of the locations that we've been working on now for New Babbage. What we've been focusing on here is kind of making a different kind of interior experience for the PU, where everything is sort of centralized within one big construct.
Basically what Microtech did was build these domes where tons of light can come in. It has this sort of greenhouse feeling. You can see that also by looking at all these exotic plants they have in here. So this cylindrical design of the domes lends itself very well to a symmetrical layout with this very prominent structure in the center, which is the flagship store of Microtech, and other shops and offices placed around it. It's basically two rings, like one outer ring and a second smaller ring right around this central structure, the factory line of this flagship store. And you have these passages that go into each cardinal direction, so you can quickly reach whatever shop or office you want to get to.
And I kind of cut those down so you can see that they're really learning as they go here. Lorville was a very hard place to move around, to walk around. You basically had to run to get anywhere in a reasonable amount of time. And given this kind of circular dome situation, they're really trying to figure out ways to navigate to where you want to go a lot easier, and this seems to be one of the ways that they're doing that here, and it's kind of exciting. So hopefully they're learning from their lessons about the other landing zones and kind of making these more accessible and easier to navigate around for us players. And then they kind of go into Misfires, and Misfires are I'm getting a lot of polarizing opinions about Misfires. They don't need to be in the game right now. They're cool or whatever, but most people are on the why now thing. And why now is an interesting question, and they're going to go into it a little bit in the video, and I'm going to let you kind of listen to what they have to say, but we're going to have a little discussion after the clip as well.
So in 3.6, we have this new feature called Misfires, or faults in ships. And we've seen a lot of discussion as to what that is and how that actually works. So we're going to take a little bit of time to sort of clear that up and go into what like a misfire is, right, Johnny? So can you tell us what a misfire is?
Yeah, so as you said, a misfire is a fault in the behavior of an item. It will happen semi-randomly, but it is a consequence of your playing with the item. So if you've been overheating it too much, or it's just old, the longer that you go without doing anything about it, the more likely it is to misfire.
It's worth clarifying that there is like a step to that process, so you can't just get a critical misfire and nowhere, right?
Yeah. So the things that cause misfires will be the heat, the distortion, the degradation, and the damage that go into your item. And so if you've all of a sudden get hit by an EMP and you just go to 100% distortion, you won't get a critical instantly.
Sure.
There's caveats everywhere all over the system to try and avoid these kind of unfair feeling mechanics.
Absolutely.
Like that.
Okay, that sounds really good. So the idea, as you can see, is that the system is not unfair. We put a lot of effort into making sure that it's not unfair. And the result will hopefully be system gameplay with your ships that is a little bit more consequential, I guess. And it'll, help to make that whole experience with ships work together, and all of your decisions actually matter.
So they kind of explain a lot of why they're fair and sort of why they need to be there, but I think that there's more to it than that. One change that has come into Star Citizen recently is the fact that when your ship explodes and you've gotten upgraded components, you no longer lose that upgraded component. When you claim your ship with insurance, it comes back with that upgraded component brand new. So misfires are kind of essential to the game, where they create a situation where wear and tear is going to matter. Like, obviously, we don't want our ships exploding all the time and dying, and it's likely that we won't be dealing with that as much in the future. But I think they're really, really, really important with the fact that misfires are basically visual representation of wear and tear, and they also are there to tell you that you can't be just holding down boost all the time and really pushing the limits of your ship, as well as just balancing general, I guess, overclocking gameplay. And then they had this really kind of weird and cringy discussion about lore, but there was a very, very interesting tidbit in there for the future.
And it's real interesting for players flying around. Something that's legal in one world may not be legal on the other worlds and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean, that factors into sort of our jurisdiction thing with, you compare and contrast kind of like Lorville versus New Babbage on Microtech, whereas Lorville is obviously much more kind of like maniacal Iron Fist type control. New Babbage is a little bit laxer on some of their laws because, again, that sort of Silicon Valley thing where it's a lot of innovation and creativity and technological development, but has kind of a big party scene. So like they're a little bit laxer about the drugs as opposed to like on Hurston. So you might not get as much trouble for running drugs in New Babbage than you would in Lorville.
And for you economy players, I know I am, they're kind of explaining to us a trade route that we're probably going to be doing a lot in the future whenever New Babbage does come out. And it sounds like the drug trade is going to be very important to the New Babbage landing zone because it's a hot spot for parties and stuff. I found that kind of interesting. So there's lots of things in lore that teach us about kind of how to play the game in the future as well, which is pretty cool. And then lastly, we had Star Citizen Live for this week's videos. And we had a good friend of the show, Luke Presley, on the show, as well as a lot of members from his team, and they had a really, really interesting thing that came up very early in the video.
I'm new. I'm a junior live designer, and when I started here, I was given the brand new building block system that Zane was on Star Citizen Live earlier talking about, and I'm exploring sort of what that can do for our missions and setting it up. So some of the things I have done is the criminal database screen that's in Korea and the UGFs, and the com array screen, including the minimal viable product hack as well.
Gotcha. I
And
know
what you're working on.
Oh, and currently I am prototyping and exploring other uses for screens to do with the law system.
is working particularly on the fine kiosk.
Yes.
And where you go and pay off your fines rather than be charged.
Yeah.
And it taken out straight away.
So the player has the choice of if they want to pay off the fine.
Now, this goes back to last week's, or 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, where they talked to Zane about building blocks, which is this technology that they're building to make UI way more accessible for their designers to use, so on and so forth. There's a lot to it, it seems, but that's one of the things that it does. And this is the first situation where a designer is using it, and they're kind of talking about it on the show. So I thought it'd be a really good thing to point that out from this week's episode. And then they move on to a question that the entire community wants the answer to.
right off the bat, when will we be able to share missions with people in the same party so we can all benefit from the payout? We know that's a request that players have been looking for a long time.
Straight in with a when question.
Yeah.
Okay. So good news actually on this. We had to design. It entailed some UI and some support from maybe groups and that, and we realized that it wasn't going to get done quickly enough. Obviously, we know how badly you guys want this, and we want it. Like, we've been kind of working around this in various ways, with like kind of cooperative missions and stuff. But we had our me and my coder. We looked at the design and tried to simplify it back down to what we could deliver quite quickly and easily, and we managed to get something earlier this week that was really promising. And Ed Fuller, my principal designer, he did an audit of all of our missions that he just finished today, and he came to the conclusion that it would be easy for most of them. Some of them do need some work. Like, for instance, like in the example is like race missions. So you can share this mission with everyone else. Only the mission owner can pass through the checkpoints. Otherwise, I could share this with everyone, and they could be at every single checkpoint and instantly finish the mission. So there are, like, obviously some missions have edge cases like that we have to catch, but we're like straight off the bat on Wednesday when he showed us this, we were able to share a delivery mission. Now, like, certain things straight away didn't work, but we've managed over just the course of 2 days to get that up and running. So I can't answer when exactly. I think it will be more of a kind of rolled out mission by mission as we can convert them. Yeah. But this is it's so promising. We were so happy. And
looks really promising. Is better than kind of silence on the subject, which it sort of has been there, or we know you want it, we want it as much as you do, kind of thing. And I thought that's where they were going in the beginning, but looks promising is really exciting. So there's work going on for it. Obviously, he didn't give us a date and can't give us a date on when we'll kind of see that, but it sounds like it's going to roll out a few missions at a time. Sounds like it's going to roll out with the box missions first. No idea which patch, but pretty exciting as well. And a lot of us that have been playing a lot lately have noticed that lots of missions don't work, lots of things in the game don't work, and they kind of go into that a little bit on this clip here.
a lot of them, I shouldn't say a lot, but some of the missions are kind of unreliable right now. A lot of folks are have trouble completing missions. We see comments in the chat about how I've only ever completed the Pacheco mission and stuff like that. What can we offer to people about the current instability that's involved in missions?
Yeah, a mission. Well, I think obviously people have to understand that a mission is, at its core, very simple. Like again, with a delivery mission, it's pick up a box, drop it off. But then, in between that pick up and drop off is the game, the whole game. So, if any portion of that game doesn't work at that time, that mission might not work. It might be entirely blocked, or it might be that it's just more of a pain. Obviously, like some of the examples are like boxes disappearing or falling through things. Like that's not the mission's fault. Yeah, that's not the mission's fault. That's I mean, I don't know. I have no idea why a box would fall through.
I like to think of designers as like at the end of the funnel, trying to piece everything together to make something cohesive. But any single part could fall apart on you, and it's easy to make that look like the mission. Like you might think, oh, now the mission's broken, but sometimes it's like, oh, I didn't have any power over that happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sort of like a blame game thing a little bit, but not really. It's obviously not everything is their fault. So when another piece of the game breaks their mission, it's one of the things that they're dealing with as well. So they're trying to create missions that work in an alpha universe, and we're trying to play them, and we're both kind of banging our heads against it. It's just as frustrating for them as it is for us, kind of thing. But they also mentioned this in the video as well. It kind of cut that out of the clip. Is you can help support this by going to the issue council and reproducing and doing all those things there and being a good QA tester for them, I guess, because that's essentially what we are right now with the state that the game is in. So that is kind of it for this week's video content, and moving on to the end of the video where we go into the miscellaneous things that we had this week. There's more Ballista things. So there was a Ballista commercial, and we're not going to play this here. I'll leave a link in the description there. It was pretty cool, but we also had Ballista QA. And the only thing, a Ballista Q&A session, and the only thing that really stuck out to me, other than the standard kind of questions that would be in there, was that are we going to be able to intercept other missiles and that type of weapon with, well, I guess at all, but they asked specifically for the Ballista, and they kind of went into that and said, well, yeah, this is what we would like to do for all ships and vehicles in the game. And it was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. I don't remember that coming up anywhere, so I thought it was a really good idea to share that in the video here. And then finally, they have Citizencon Wave 3 tickets for sale, and they are going to go on sale Wednesday, August 7th, and there's going to be 2 waves of 175 tickets, one at 1800 UTC and another at 2200 UTC. All backers are available, no subscriber only, concierge, none of that stuff. So I want to end this video, and my cat as well happens to be here hanging out with us, to say goodbye and thank you so much for watching these videos. As always, thank you for all the love you've been putting on them and showing support for them, and just in general watching them. I've really enjoyed making them for you guys. So as always, leave a link in the description, or leave a like. Check out the links in the description below, because all the things that we shared here will be linked in the description. And yeah, subscribe if you're enjoying this content, and we will see you guys next week. Thanks for watching, everybody.